talking to Zabluski out in Michigan about Lincolns. He loves Lincolns. And I bought many parts from him to restore the 1980 Lincoln. Also, John at the Lincoln Farm out in Pennsylvania, he loves Lincolns too.
It has a Continental, it's a Continental, and it's a Mark, and it's a Lincoln. Continental car.
It's all in one.
Yeah, it was the year that they busted everything to make that their luxury car, and they sold so few of them.
I know it. That was the only year they made, well, I shouldn't say year, only years they made a four-door Mark.
That's right. That was the first of the four-door Marks, right, and the last of them.
And then they quit making the two-door after that too. There are no town car coupes after '83.
Oh, there aren't?
They're all four-door town cars, like my '88.
Oh yeah.
So it took me all this time to find a quarter length for the way.
So they took that car, the 1980 Lincoln, and they made 3 cars out of it. It was a Lincoln Continental Mark VI, and it still is. It's right out there. And Ford made 3 cars out of it. The Lincoln Town Car, the Mark VII, and the Continental. So it's a grand addition, and we have spent a lot of time and a lot of money restoring it. This next chat with Glendora is to Anthony Riddle. He's head of the Manhattan Neighborhood Network Public Access. He has a beautiful voice. He never returns telephone calls. He's pretty lazy. And I've known this over a number of years, when he was in Minneapolis and then when he moved down here. This is his telephone answering machine.
Anthony Riddle, did you get the news that the public access producers prevailed? That the Cablevision capitulated and they withdrew the ODS public access kit. 3 towns, Riverhead, Southold, and Southampton, told Cablevision that it was illegal for them to put out such rules and that it was null and void, and told the public access producers not to sign. And in Queens, Claire Vogel was told that she couldn't put up the announcement at the end of the defense program that people could have a videotape of it for $20. And that is exactly the cause of action of Goldberg versus Cablevision, which is now in the Second Circuit. And a decision is being expected on that. And number 3, Goldberg gave me a 15-minute program that was put together by the Alliance for Community Media, and I saw you on that. And you spoke very well. Of course, I've always told you about your beautiful voice. So I've got that. I sent that up to Somers, northern Westchester, Cross River. I'll have to make a dub of it and incorporate it in a chat with Glendora down here. Let's see. Number 4. I am very against the rule that you have to have a community sponsor. People don't want to be sponsors. And this violates a very strong state New York law that you cannot limit and prohibit public access. And this requirement does limit and prohibit public access. If this message is acceptable, dial pound. To listen to the message, dial 1.
I hate those recorders. Oh, you?
Albany and Schenectady. And so I have to erase and re-record, dial 2. To continue recording, dial 3. To the tone, record your message. And so I have asked Steve Shea of the Public Service Commission to be a sponsor of a chat with Glendora up in Troy, Albany, and Schenectady, and he refuses to do so. So I'm asking Tom Isabella to be a sponsor. This message is acceptable, dial pound. To listen to the dial 3. To the tone, record your message. What an idiotic. This message is acceptable, dial pound. To listen to the message, tone, record your message. This is an idiotic recorder, Anthony. This message is acceptable. Record your message. And it keeps interrupting. I'll have to call you back.
Typical Manhattan recorder. It keeps interrupting.
Record your message. This message is acceptable.
So you dial over again.
Walpurgis Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
So you dial his extension over again, 301.
301. Please hold.
That is obnoxious.
I'm going to play you a tape Alliance for Community Media made. It's going to be right after this. I think you'll like it. Bob Goldberg gave it to me to play for you.
Let's see, that's the first week of July. Now the next calls are the month calls. Let's see how many calls.
Isn't it awful to be interrupted like that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And it takes so long for this recorder to answer. Don't you want to talk to people, Anthony?
You have reached extension 301 at Manhattan Neighborhood Network. At the tone, please leave a message. At the tone, record your message. When you are finished recording, you may hang up or dial pound.
So, the next person I asked was Peggy Monahan, if she would sponsor the program, and then I asked Tom Isabella, who was a former mayor of Schenectady, if he would do it. And so I'll just keep asking all the way up to Helmer, who is the commissioner, the Public Service Commission commissioner. And I'll ask Chad Hume.
He's the head of the
Figueroa.
Department of Communications.
And I'll keep asking, and if they don't find a sponsor for that program up there, then I think they'll have to be sued on the basis that they are limiting and prohibiting public access against a state law.
If this message is acceptable, dial pound. To listen to, record your message.
And that brings us to today's joke. Why was the baby shoe crying? His mother was a sneak and his daddy was a loafer.
Launch of the Campaign for Media Democracy. The campaign is a grassroots organizing effort to lay the groundwork for future policy initiatives to preserve people's access to electronic communication. We want to be proactive and begin to frame community media issues in our own terms and context, rather than as a reaction to threats by the telecommunications industry. We also want to make certain that people understand that access to electronic media is a fundamental issue of justice and democracy.
Now look at the power. 1.5 million people across the country using our channels, over 1 million hours of programs a year, these centers with these tremendous resources, and think of the viewers. Think of the number of people in the communities that now have something available to them that they would have in no other way. And it's because of all you good people, and we gather together once a year as the Alliance for Community Media. That's right.
Everybody has air conditioning. You drive by, you can't hear what people are saying, you can't hear what they're doing.
Community media is media that's made by people for people without commercial concern. When people can see pictures of themselves that are made by their neighbors, they are in a better position of understanding the realities of their neighbors and the people that they live with.
It's media that's based in the community. It's to serve the community needs and those building needs that bind human beings together, that that are the backbone of their community, that cause people to have the chance to make a discussion and to work out problems and to convene a discussion and activity, as opposed to commercial corporate media, which compels them to buy stuff they don't need.
It's media that allows the common person to have a voice, and it's media that also reflects what's happening in a community.
Public access is important to me because it's a way, it levels the playing field. It allows people to express themselves who wouldn't normally have an opportunity to do that. It shows things about the community that I live in that would never be seen on Channel 2 News.
Cable access is important because it's the only way that we can get to say what we want to say without the mediation of professionals who have other agendas.
In Milwaukee, we did all the youth programming, and you realize that all of those kids that went through that programming developed this incredible sense of self-esteem and belonging to the community. And then you look at what else are we doing for kids. We're telling them at every juncture that there's no place for them. You open up that place for them to practice culture, to speak, to do things, and the impact on a community is phenomenal.
Some of the most rewarding stories are working with senior citizens that organized a big campaign to make people aware of fraud against senior citizens. We're able to contact about I believe 2,000 people. The economic impact of the community was around $3 million. It was very measurable.
I work with individuals with mental retardation and other developmental disabilities. These are people that the community a number of years ago would have thought it was an inappropriate social role or opportunity for them to be video producers. And in fact, they've often been relegated to simple tasks, and they have not been thought of in terms of ability or point of view as being important to an overall point of view of a society or a culture. Because of public access television specifically, it was the first time that people with mental retardation and other developmental disabilities had open access to be able to discuss the things that are important to them in an open forum.
And what has kept me in the field is to see the blossoming, the people that have come in our center who were introverted, who had low self-esteem, who didn't have faith in themselves. And within just months, I saw a totally different person. I saw someone proud. I saw someone confident. I saw someone educated. And I saw someone critiquing those 3-minute or 3-second news bites.
The impact of an increasing concentration of media is a lessening of any kind of democratic dialogue. That is, in a democracy, you really should be having a dialogue in the whole society where people can be talking to each other about basic issues. Those basic issues are not being dealt with.
The media mergers are going to decrease the number of voices that are available to us, and they'll all be commercial driven.
I think what's really frightening with the mergers and acquisitions, naturally people talk a lot about how it will impact on diversity of voices and just the democratic nature of the media, but it's frightening because it's a trend in general that larger and larger companies owning things and owning what is considered, in many people's opinions, to be public space, that becomes an ideological position that is hard to challenge when it's so status quo.
Well, one thing that really concerns me about the commercial paradigm in the media, which is prevalent, is that everybody is positioned as a consumer. That's the way we're defined as viewers, as people that will possibly go out and buy something. And we're so much more than that. We're not just consumers. We're women, we're aged, we're people who have illnesses that need to be understood, we're people that have been perhaps discriminated against historically, we are people of different language groups, different cultural backgrounds, and just treating us as consumers is just incredibly reduces our humanity.
We're all living in Disneyland with our great big heads and our big white hands. Your every wish is my command. We're all living in Disneyland. We're all living in Nike Town with our Nike shoes on shaky ground, wearing sweatshop sweatsuits all year round. We're all living in Nike Town. Disneyland, Disneyland, the perfect world, the master plan with MasterCard to charge and charge. In Disneyland, we're living large. We're all living in Circuit City.
if we're going to have citizen access to media in the future, we're going to need to do a lot of work with public education, make sure everybody understands what's at stake with all these media mergers and consolidation. What does that mean for democracy? And I think that along with public education, we also need to really promote utilization of community media in all its forms so that people are taking the tools into their own hands.
And also make sure that we educate people to be not just passive recipients of media, but to be active participants in media. Not just say, okay, whatever comes across the tube, I'm just going to sit there and take it. But be able to respond. As someone said to me, you don't have to wait for the Washington Post or the Los Angeles Times or New York Times to print your letter to the editor, because you can have a voice in media through public access, through community media.
I think that we have to remind ourselves as well as our communities that this is a country where we empower government, we empower corporations to have an opportunity to do well in our communities. But in the end, this country is ours and these communities are ours, and we have a responsibility to take care of ourselves, evolve, and to mature, and the best way to do that is for that to be in our hands, and we need the tools of media to express ourselves and communicate with one another.
Now's the time to say, we need, in exchange for allowing these mergers to happen, some sort of payback to the community, some sort of insurance that there'll be facilities and funds available.
And so when I look at community access, you know, it's not a matter of entertainment, it's a matter of survival.
We set aside land for parks to make sure that we have access to nature. We set aside money and space for libraries to make sure that we have access to culture. This in the same way that we need to put resources into community access centers to make sure that we have access to communication for the sake of the community, not reflecting any corporate interest or any interest other than community interest.
We have to organize, 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 and keep on organizing.
Act smart politically, organize at the grassroots level, try to find other groups to ally with, educate the community.
Every time we touch a person and show them how to edit, you know, every time we show somebody how a camera works or how the news is put together, I think that's really a first step. You know, the next thing is that I think we really have to be relevant in people's lives. You know, it's one thing to have sort of a middle class approach to it, you know, where whoever is educated and has free time can produce a program. And it's quite another thing to really be active and try to figure out how to show people ways in which the media can be used to improve their living condition.
Media democracy to me means that there needs to be a place between the state and the market where people can interact among themselves and form public opinion and behave as if they're a public. Media democracy means participation, and increasingly there's less and less space for participation. There are fewer and fewer parks like this. As a matter of fact, to have this kind of a rally requires probably a dozen permits, and there isn't a place for a public to be a public. Public access is one of the places that's been preserved for the public to remain as a public, and it's a green space, a common good space that's very important to preserve.
I'm glad you did that, Penny. And it goes to Yorktown, that system, and it goes to the Yonkers system, and it goes to the New Rochelle system and Pelham. And it should go to 20 other municipalities in Westchester. But Cablevision is violating the law and not having system-wide public access. And the towns, the communities themselves, are violating the law and not insisting that Cablevision have system-wide public access. 20 towns have not seen a chat with Glendora and 160 other public access producers programs for 4 years. May 1996. 4 years. Now they've got to be sued. The pants have got to be sued right off of them. So this is the first edition, and I have 10 editions to edit. 4 of them will get edited tomorrow, Wednesday. Unless I can figure out a way to edit more than that and have some specials. Some jokes. The woman in the church said to the minister, you see, they were having a rummage sale, and she says, you see that little cloakroom over there? I sold all of the articles in that cloakroom. I emptied it out. And the minister said, that is the cloakroom. And a girl said she wanted to go to such and such a college because it had a good rating, and her friend says, what do you mean by a good rating? And she said, well, it's co-ed, and there's 5 men to every woman. And Marilyn says to Carolyn, I have the most wonderful recipe for casserole. I simply mention it, and my husband says, let's eat out. This is Ginny Cat talking to us. Come on, Ginny Cat. You have to lift Ginny Cat by the belly. That's where her center of gravity is. A Hollywood extra, he got a speaking part in a play, in a movie, and all he was supposed to say was, the detective comes in the room, and the detective says, did you see that woman drink that cup of coffee? Excuse me, and all the little extra had to say was, I did. So he went home, and he rehearsed all of the different ways that he could say, I did, I did, I did, I did. Came time to shoot the scene. The detective said to the extra, did you see the woman drink the cup of coffee? And the extra said, did I? Hold on. Cannot read my writing. I'll have to go look this joke up for you. I have to get up. I hate getting up. Oh yes, it's a good joke. I don't see how I could ever forget it. A lady was in an artist studio and she was enthralled with the colors. She says, your colors are so beautiful. I wish I could take some of them home with me. And the artist says, you can, ma'am, you're sitting on my brushes. The first report up is, I am reading the Public Service Commission folder. It is quite a few papers. About 10 of them are all legal papers, acts of Congress regarding cable television. And of course our interest is public access. Now I am rereading the Big Act. This is the one you got to memorize. You got to memorize it. You got to know it by heart. You got to sleep with it under your pillow. This is the Cable Communications Policy Act of 1984. This was the first act that Congress had written about communications since the FCC Act of 1934, 50 years later. And I want to point out some things to you that this act says clearly. The purpose of this title, and it turned out to be, it got codified as Title 47 U.S. Code, Section 521 et sequitur. Okay, the purpose of this title are, the purposes of this title are two. One, establish a national policy concerning cable communications. So, there is a national interest in cable television. It is not just community. 4, assure that cable communications provide and are encouraged to provide the widest possible diversity of information sources and services in the public, to you. You're the all-important public. You seem to forget that. You seem to forget the power that you have. I'm here to remind you of it every week. The term public educational or governmental access facility means A, channel capacity designated for public educational or governmental use, and B, facilities and equipment for the use of such channel capacity. So don't tell me that cable companies don't have to offer production. Don't tell me that, Public Service Commission. It's right here. Now, the next section is the all-important Section 531. Use of cable channels and cable ownership restrictions. The most important thing there, of course, is 531E, that no cable operator shall exercise editorial control over public use, over channel or public access. The purpose, now it goes on to leased access. You can buy time on a cable company. They have to provide it for you. And here's 2 pages of Congress mandates on that. Do you watch leased access? Of course, on Cablevision, it's hard to tell where it is or what it is or when it is. Now, this is franchise fees. Do you know that Congress let you pay for the franchise fees? A cable company has to pay a municipality 5% for the use of its public right-of-way, that is, to string wires. And they pass that on to you. If I were you, I would object to that. These billionaires, why are they billionaires? You have That's I-95 going up there. Going up Long Island Sound. Franklin says it'll be high tide by the time we get to the rip-off booth. is along here someplace. A storefront. I never understand why you subscribers go in to pay your bills. Why don't you mail the money in? This is the old Lifesaver building. They used to have two great big rows of Lifesavers outside. We're approaching the police station and the court. The court where William J. Giacomo cheats. Right here. Giacomo cheats. Giacomo cheats. Franklin has to go purchase an airline ticket for $350. Emergency to go to Florida to see his 86-year-old brother who has cancer, pancreas, liver, and lungs, and spend probably the last week with him.
Just bring like another form of ID with you.
Like what, Franklin? This is where I bring things for the Center for Judicial Accountability. You're looking ahead to Rockland County, just about leaving Westchester County, and you're going to go over the mighty Hudson River. This is the Tappan Zee Bridge. There it is. Goes straight to Albany. And Troy. And down in the south, on a clear day, you can see Manhattan. We're on our way to Rockland County, to Cablevision Rockland, to hand in a chat with Glendora, pick up a chat with Glendora and the Hidden Truth. Flowers like this, have you? These beautiful flowers are Rockland, Cablevision. That's the Hudson going to Albany, going to Manhattan. The great New York Harbor. I think you can see Manhattan. Can you? Yes, you can, see? Just to the east of that big rock. The mighty Hudson River. Now, get out your money. That's the old New York Central tracks. It took everybody to Albany, Utica, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo. And then to Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis.
Hello? Receipt, please.
Peekskill City Court, 4:45 p.m. Looks closed. $4:45 p.m. closed. City Court. So, from Rockland across the top, a feature on this program called Isn't God Great? I want to show you this. Did you ever see, I have to give you a frame of reference. You can see the picket fence. So that gives you a frame of reference how huge these leaves are. Now isn't God a great creator? Also, I wanted you to see the pink lilies. The tiger lilies are usually orange with the black spots, and they're so pretty. This is the first time I've ever seen pink ones. Isn't God great? Queen Anne's lace. JFK, TWA, going to Florida to see his brother, who is diagnosed with cancer, pancreas, liver, and lung. Orlando, Florida. Today is July 1st, 2000, Saturday, 3:30 p.m. I say stay home.
Servicing for Lauderdale. All passengers holding a valid ticket at boarding.
You like that, folks? I got it ready for the 4th of July. I bought it, and I learned how to put it on the pole, and I learned how to pull it up. Hooray for the red, white, and blue. Rich people have couchant lions. They have couchant lions. But poor people have 2 cute little domestic cats guarding their house. And he brought some food for the kids. And Franklin is in Florida, visiting his brother Lawrence. This is July 2nd, 4th of July weekend. The record that you just saw was what had happened through the last Monday in June, and this is 4th of July. Happy birthday, America, and that's why we say 3 cheers for the red, white, and blue, and that is why we are videotaping in the Red, White, and Blue Museum. This is the Glendora Pro Se and Public Access Museum. Yesterday, I picketed Edward T. Fry, or A. Fry, Edward Fry, and his law firm, Sweeney, Cohn. And the picket poster said, Fry cheats and Sweeney Cohn Law Firm cheats. Also, we picketed Ishvan Kasari at Yonkers Nursery and King Fence, where he works. And that picket sign says, "Deport Kasari." And last Thursday, we picketed Giacomo at the Portchester Court. And that sign says, "Giacomo cheats." We have more signs and more picketing to do. Barone Bungo's lawsuit. Cher fails his oath. I think that's probably all in that group. It leaves out Generoso and the bad clerks at the New Rochelle City Court. Coming up Quaropus Street, that's nice, you know. Quaropus is an Indian word meaning White Plains. And coming up Quaropus Street in White Plains from the post office up to Brad Sachs, there was a tow truck. And at the county courthouse, which is 19 stories, you're supposed to get into the far right lane to make a right on Grand Street, and it's clearly marked. And I had a feeling that this tow truck wasn't going to do that, and he was in the wrong lane, and when he got up to Grand Street he did not turn right. Instead he tried to turn left and cut me off on Quaropus, and so I sort of blocked his way, and he knew he'd done wrong, he knew he'd been stupid, and he cascades a volley of obscene words. And I told him he was in the wrong lane, and what should his reaction have been? You know, what would a person who had a good mother, what would he have said? He said, "Oh, I'm sorry." But no, he gets mad at everybody else when the person he should be angry at is himself. A judge told me a very good joke. This was in Brooklyn, and he said that when he was a lawyer, a man had been charged with stealing a radio, and the lawyer got the man convicted. The man left the courtroom. The lawyer was packing up his papers, getting ready to leave. The judge was still on the bench, and the man came back into the courtroom, and the judge says, "What's your problem?" And the man said, "Judge, does that mean I get to keep the radio?" We also picketed, I told you Nikolai, didn't I? Yes, I didn't. Nix Nikolai. And we got the permit from the White Plains Police Department. It's not really a permit, they call it. They call it an information form, but it is in rank violation of free speech on the sidewalk. Free speech on the sidewalk on the 4th of July in America gets and deserves the utmost protection. And the city of White Plains has been sued on this matter with Hickey and Dolce because there should be no restrictions on free speech on the sidewalk. Well, that kind of restriction anyway. Because all I do is walk up and down with a poster on my front and on my back that says my message. Now, folks, I went to the administrative window of the White Plains Post Office yesterday, July 3rd, and I said I would like the address and telephone number of and name of the Chief Postal Inspector. And the woman at the window says, "We don't give out that information." I hit the roof. That is the dumbest thing anybody could say. The Chief Postal Inspector, this is a country club? This is not the United States Postal Service? This is not a public operation? And I said, "I'm staying here until you give me that address." And she came back and she says, "I can't find the address anywhere." I said, "Where's Rebecca?" That's Rebecca Agostini, the postmaster. "Well, she's not here today." Well, all right, then ask him. And the man says, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Glendora." And then there was another man there who was dressed up with a shirt and tie, so he must have some authority. And I said, well, ask him. Well, his name was Gene, and he went and he got it for me. And I started writing it. The Chief Postal Inspector is Box 555, New York, New York, 10112. And I wrote it on the this card that I'm sending out. This is a postcard. And then he came back with the address of the postal inspector here in White Plains. So I ended up with two addresses, and the postal inspector in White Plains is Jake Burke, 1000 Westchester Avenue, White Plains, New York, 10610. And his telephone number is 697-4134. And so Gene says, send it to him, and by then I'd started this, and Gene didn't have any whiteout, so I continued. I'm sending it to Manhattan. But what this is all about is this is Durango, Colorado, the Durango Community Access TV, who said they would play A Chat with Glendora on the TV, and then went back on their word, a volte face. And so I wanted, and Gene Costello and Leslie Duran took my postage. See, I sent this deliberately with no return address, so they couldn't return it. And so Gene Costello and Leslie Duran take and write my address on the back and send this back to me on my postage, which is something like 77 cents. And I've written to, so I put this on a postcard so everybody can see it, and it went through the mail yesterday this way. That costs 44 cents when you do it like that, especially. And it says, Chief Postal Inspector Leslie Duran and Gene Costello wrote my return address and used my postage to send this package back to me. Glendora purposely left off her return address to prevent them from returning the package. They are habitual fugitives in a lawsuit and are foolish enough to think they can escape by not accepting mail. And all they do puts them into default judgment. Glendora wants these people prosecuted to the fullest for postal fraud. That's part of the lawsuit, Glendora versus Levin. The cause of action on that, you remember, is that these public access operations will not accept non-locally produced programming. That is rankly against the Cable Communications Policy Act of 1984, where the government has an interest that the people, that you get the widest possible diversity of information. That is strictly against it. And so I'm trying to test that out in court. And that lawsuit at the moment, it was in the Los Angeles court, you remember? And I told you that the United States District Court in Los Angeles acts as though they were drunk or on dope, something. They just don't act right. Now it's in the Eastern District of Michigan, United States District Court there. More reports in just a second. Back in the days when I had the old camcorder, well, I still have them, camcorders 1 and 2, that were bought in 1987, you had to have a 600-watt light. And they're expensive. One bulb was something like, well, it started out around $21, then they went up to $32. And the dealers rip you off for this Jersey camera and color tone. They rip you off awfully. And so I found out where I could get the bulbs for $15, and then they were $21. And then Norman at Jersey Camera, Interlight, I told you about this last week. This is just a reminder. He said that I had given him the wrong number for the light bulb. And I had not. I had given him the correct number, but he had called in the wrong number to order them. And the light bulb, when it came and I used it, it lasted about 2 hours and it popped. And that's not right for a light bulb that he charged me $32 from. And so he lied to Interlight that I had done this. And I called, and then Interlight told me that if you like, you may order by money order number DYH for $11.97 plus $5 shipping. So where Norman was doubling the price at $32, even more, I could have got them at $15. Well, then I dealt with Smith Victor. It used to be a company in Chicago, and I used to deal with Ken Orlando. And it was nice. It was a good relationship. And Ken only charged me something like $20 for them. And then that company was bought by Smith Victor, and Pauley and Consumer Affairs sort of took over. And then they would not give me a refund for the light that was damaged. And so I'm telling you about them, that they should have made good. And so I will have a sign on TV, the Smith Victor does not make good. I want to commend the White Plains senior citizens for putting out this paper, Leisure Times. We are members, both of us, of the White Plains senior citizens. And it came in very, very handy. When Franklin went to Florida, you can't get on the airplane unless you have an ID, photo ID. And so Franklin used his photo ID for that. This bit of news is about Time Warner. I now am a shareholder of Time Warner Incorporated, and the reason I am is the reason that I just gave you. I sued them all over the country, 47 defendants, Time Warner, Cablevision, Adelphia, and Media One, for not playing non-resident public access programming. This is a cause of action that has to win in the courts because it is wrong. Here on July 4th, that should not be. So I only buy stock in companies that I sue. And so now we are a Time Warner shareholder, and we will go to the annual meeting and we will tell Jerry Levin that what is being done is un-American. Now, also this will go, do they play this game? How can a cable company move and have no forwarding address? Can you tell me that? Now this is this jerky outfit, Media One, that used to be owned by Amos Hofstadter as Continental. And then it was ruined by U.S. West and Charles Lillis and changed to Media One. And now in the works is AT&T owning this. So I don't know what we will do. We'll send it either to Armstrong, the CEO of AT&T, or we will send it to Gerald Levin and tell him to catch up with the address of this cable system in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Octo was a gasoline station that ripped us off for $20. I gave Jimmy a $20 bill, and he starts filling the tank. Then he comes and says to me, "Where is that 20?" And he couldn't find it. And then he made me put up another $20 for it, and I gave him a week to find it, but he didn't. And so I told him yesterday, Sunday when I was at the laundry there before church, I told him that a report about you was on TV. And if this isn't a guilty reaction, he went into a rage and came out with a splutter of all kinds of things. And went out of control as he was pumping another customer's gasoline into the tank. I had to buy a flag for the 4th of July because we have a flagpole. and I didn't like seeing that flagpole empty, so I wanted a big flag like that. And so I went to Pergament to buy it, and there was a loose flag there. And I asked the man in a red Pergament shirt if he would help me, and he was very accommodating. They're very good. And so he showed me the kind of a package that this came out of, with poles and an eagle and a clasp to attach it, everything like that, and a fixture for the front porch pillar and all that. So I didn't need all that, but he says you can have the whole thing for the same price. You can have the lead. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And another customer came up and asked him to help, and he says, I will. He says, I've got to, just as soon as I take care of Miss America here. And so it made everybody laugh, the cashier laugh. And then the customer who was delayed said, oh, and he went like this and saluted. It was really funny. It was a good thing. Good fellowship. A man at 76 Raymond Street in Yaplank, 11980. He asked me to send him material. Don't do that. Okay, call me up and talk to me. The Chat with Glendora files, as you can see here, are over 100,000 pages. How do I know what material you want? But I'm so glad you called and you like the program, you want more information. But you call me and tell me your number, and then I will call you. Tenants and Neighbors, I want you people to join Tenants and Neighbors. It's a group that protects tenants' rights against greedy landlords. And they tell you how you can, Tenants and Neighbors has worked since 1974 to preserve tenants' rights through the power of organized members. Now, Tenants and Neighbors members can also save money on household expenses like long-distance telephone, electricity, and natural gas through a new joint program of Tenants and Neighbors and online choice. www. Online house CONT. So that's something you people in White Plains, Harrison, and this program also goes to Los Alamos, Santa Fe, and West Seneca, the town south of Buffalo. So folks, the sign is up, 29 minutes is up. We got 30 seconds to say goodbye. I want you to remember this, that you have rights and protections and people are stealing them away from you, and you get in there and you just put your foot down and you know the law and you cite the law and you'll be okay. I have many instances of that to tell you. Unfortunately, it'll be on other editions. Keep the courage flaming, and God bless you all. Hi there, everybody. A man was upset about his fourth daughter getting married, and his friend said, why? And the man says, well, my first daughter married a man from Singleton, Missouri, and they had one child. And my second daughter married a man from Twin Oaks, Minnesota, and they had 2 children. And my third daughter married a man from Three Rivers, Michigan, and they had 3 children. Why are you so worried about your fourth daughter? She's going with a fellow from the Thousand Islands. And what do you call a miniature guppy? What do you call a miniature guppy? A microfiche. In Buffalo, folks, there's a park named Humboldt Park. Humboldt. And the mother said to her son, what did you learn in Sunday school today? And he said, I learned that Jesus sneaked through Humboldt Park. His mother called the Sunday school teacher and asked her. And the teacher said, I taught them that Jesus has a meek and humble An 8-year-old ran into the house and says, Grandma, Grandma, I dropped my lunch on the driveway and Dad backed the car over it. And Grandma said, that's Wheels on Meals. We have the announcement from Americans for Legal Reform. Fed up with attorneys and their fees, people are taking the law into their own hands and fumbling. By Amanda Ripley Orlando. Time, June 12th, 2000. Despite the axiom that anyone who represents himself in court has a fool for a client, self-representation is booming, especially in family court. Most people who file pro se Latin for in one's own behalf, do so because they can't afford a lawyer and the rest just don't want one. They think it's kind of cool to say, I don't need a stupid lawyer. The law, something cum, may embolden people by demystifying the courthouse, and anti-lawyer sentiment remains as potent as ever. This is an era of do-it-yourself, says Kathleen Sampson of the American Judicature Society, an organization of judges and lawyers. It's the Home Depot approach. To truly open the courthouse to people who can't afford a lawyer, proponents say, courts must simplify and standardize legal forms across jurisdictions, and more lawyers should unbundle their service offering handling advice for lower fees. For now, even in Florida, whose courts are more open than most, the protocols still overwhelm people. Don't vote for lawyers. Check website Americans4Legal Reform.com. So next week, I'll try to read you more from Americans for Legal Reform. And you know, I've told you over and over again, never hire a lawyer. You simply go to the books in the library, and many of them are in your public library. You find out, look at the U.S. Code and the New York State statutes, and you will find the law that was broken, and you simply write your complaint. You say, this is the law that was broken, and this is what they did to break it, and these are the damages that I want. Punitive, compensatory damages. Very, very easy. And there is a pro se department now down in Manhattan for the state court, and there is definitely pro se in all of the federal courts, pro se clerks. Yeah, fact sheet as put out by the Federal Communications Commission. Cable television. Evolution of cable television. Cable television, also called CATV or community antenna television, was developed in the late 1940s for communities unable to receive TV signals because of terrain or distance from TV stations. Cable television system operators located antennas in areas with good reception, picked up broadcast station signals, and then distributed them by coaxial cable to subscribers for a fee. In 1950, cable systems operated in only 70 communities in the United States. These systems served 14,000 homes. By October 1998, there were more than 10,700 systems serving more than 65 million subscribers in more than 32,000 communities. Cable systems are appearing in every state of the United States and in many other countries, including Atlanta, Canada, Belgium, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland. We left out Chile and Poland. I happen to know Bill Bresnan, who is a cable TV operator, mostly in Minnesota, that is doing cable TV in Poland and Chile. More cable systems are technically capable of offering between 36 and 60 channels. Channel capacity in the industry has increased dramatically in recent years. Some systems now offer in excess of 100 channels. Most cable subscribers receive service from a system offering more than 34 channels. And remember Charles Dolan 3-4 years ago? We're going to have cable television systems with 500 channels. Next week, if it's at all possible, I'll try to read you some more from that FCC fact sheet. There's a lot of things in there that tell you how to stick up for your rights in front of a cable operator, you as a subscriber. So Glendora versus Mark D. Fox. He's a so-called magistrate, which is a teacher's helper. He's an undesignated magistrate in the Southern District of New York, United States District Court. And it's Glendora plaintiff appellant versus Mark D. Fox and about 40 defendants appellees. And it went to the Houston court, and Wehrlein failed to protect his company, his country rather, and violated America. And I appealed it, and it went to the United States Court of Appeals in New Orleans, and they were worse than the district court, more crooked. All of these people who have damaged you and damaged America. And so I don't know what happened there. They did foolish things like saying they didn't receive it, but we all knew that they did, and that they didn't receive it on time, and we all knew that they had. And they lied and they cheated, and I read you all those papers. Well, here is a paper that came in on the 3rd of July and was answered on the 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. Appeal from the United States District Court for the Southern District of Texas, Houston, Werline. And it says, before Davis, Emilio M. Garza, and Dennis, circuit judges, by the court, it is ordered that appellant's motion for leave to file out of time the motion to reconsider this court's order, filed April 6, 2000, is granted. Well, Glendora says thank you, but it was not filed untimely. Somebody cheated. It is further ordered this appellant's motion for reconsideration is denied. I don't know really what they're doing. Are they saying yes, it's granted, the motion to reconsider, and then they're saying it's denied, and then right in there, see how that's handwritten? Well, we have a few things to say about that. Wouldn't that be moot instead of denied? There is no signature. A paper is not an order until a judge signs it. In your situation, 3 judges have to sign it. Who wrote denied, quote unquote? We have a heterotaxis. The record on appeal has been returned to the United States District Court, Houston. Yet the appeal is still going on in New Orleans. Will you please send Glendora the record on appeal? You told Glendora you use only UPS. Well, the address then is Glendora, Saxon Associates, Quaropus and Court Streets, White Plains, New York, 10601. Here is their letter to Glendora, and notice that they do not use the designated address. That is not the designated address. Correction, it is the designated address, and the caption says thank you. I'm sorry. Glendora versus Fox is a great fight for right. Werline did not do his job. Fifth Circuit did not do its job. Glendora will never file another case in Houston, nor in New Orleans. But she will file Glendora versus Fox et al. Again, because it has not been adjudicated on its merits. She will keep searching for an honest and honorable United States District Court that stands up for the USA and for the meeting of July 4th. And this was written on July 4th. Dated White Plains, New York, July 4th, 2000, Anno Domini, yours in truth, Glendora. A few things from the Public Service Commission, State of New York, gave us another copy of the Cable Communications Policy Act of 1984. And just note in here that its purpose is to establish a national policy concerning cable communications, and also included is assure that cable communications provide and are encouraged to provide the widest possible diversity of information, sources, and services to you, the public. So, definitions is section 522. 531 is the use of cable channels and cable ownership restrictions. A franchising authority may enforce any requirement in any franchise regarding the providing or use of such channel capacity, public access. Such enforcement authority includes the authority to enforce any provisions of the franchise for services, facilities, or equipment, public, educational, or governmental use of channel capacity. And Riverhead did this. on the basis of their law and their rights, they made a demand on Cablevision for a second public access channel. The term public educational or governmental access facilities means channel capacity designated for public educational or government use, and B, facilities and equipment for the use of such channel capacity, and Cablevision is mandated therefore to do production, editing, remote videotaping. So watch this, Forma, and watch this, Richard Einhorn. They have to provide the equipment and the production facility. Subject to section 544D, a cable operator shall not exercise any editorial control over any public, educational, or government use of channel. So notice that, Public Service Commission of the State of New York. And also notice this, the purpose of this section, cable channels for commercial use, that's leased access, is to assure that the widest possible diversity of information sources are made available to you, the public, from cable systems in a manner consistent with the growth and development of cable systems. Now, a cable system with more than 32 channels shall designate 15% of such channels for leased access. Do you watch leased access? I wish you would call me and tell me what you think about it. An operator of any cable system on the date of the commencement of this title, which was in 1984, shall not be required to remove any service actually being provided to comply with having to have leased access. A cable operator may use any channel capacity designated pursuant to this section until the use of such channel capacity is obtained. So it's the status at the moment with Cablevision. Goldberg and Hillgartner, please note. That's our FCC report on the fact sheet. Or George Orwell and Big Brother. Robert Goldberg sends a study of the unauthorized or unapproved practice of law. And he says that the judiciary's role in interpreting and enforcing laws, and since Madison versus Marbury, reviewing their constitutionality as well, has evolved into a system that includes an organized, regulated bar as an integral part. Courts do need to have procedures that maintain order and handle matters smoothly. Whether the present system of having a group of licensed professional intermediaries, lawyers, who work on a fee for service basis is better at serving the needs of citizens who seek to redress their legal rights through the judicial process than some other arrangement is an open question. There are and have been jurisdictions that function without attorneys. Ooh, that's good. Several of the British American colonies barred the practice of law, as did the courts described in the Old Testament. The present arrangement in New York State did not grow out of a reasoned comparison of alternatives, but from political compromises between self-seeking groups. Political compromises between self-seeking groups. There is room for improvement. Don't hire a lawyer. Go pro se. 1, go to the library, read the laws. Simple enough. The U.S. Code and the New York statutes. Find the law that they broke and write your complaint. This is the law they broke, this is what they did to me, and these are the damages I want. In proxy statement, Glendora works harder than any of you and gets paid 0. You're violating the law. Federal and state has impoverished Glendora, bringing you to court to be dealt with by the law and justice. This is to Cablevision. Infra is what you have cost Glendora to fight your law breaking. 1,654 3/4 hours, $10,947.38 in print, post, and travel. 21,960 pages, 6 file drawers, 66 volumes, 1,080 Cablevision lives, 347 TV reports, 539 mailings from November the 11th, 1993, Armistice Day, Veterans Day, to June the 4th, year 2000, D-Day, 6 years, 6 months, 3 weeks of Dolan's lawbreaking. Do the books, records, and minutes agree with the figures in the proxy statement and the annual report? It is very hard for Glendora to respect you when you pay our dividend money to a scoundrel like Robert Callaghan, who lies, steals, and cheats, who makes a fool out of himself and out of Cablevision before New York State judges and United States judges. In 1998, you, Charles F. Dolan, agreed with Glendora, saying, yes, it is true, Glendora and I have been friends for many years. Glendora has been able to separate you from the terrible things that this company has done. But the tie that binds our friendship is getting thinner and thinner, and Glendora is considering withdrawing her friendship with you. You are cheating us, you are stealing from us, and you think we don't know, but we do. Page 31, the questions. All of the questions you heard me ask when I reported to you on the annual meeting. So we have covered those, and they go up to page 33, 34, and then the exhibits. Page 35 is the exhibit of my protest to the Public Educational and Governmental Access Kit, and we won on that flatly. Cablevision capitulated, and they withdrew the Public Access Kit. Unfortunately, we lost a very nice man as vice president in charge of all this, Mark Shukin. He went to Seattle. And this is my comments on the proxy statement that I sent in, or rather the proxy that I sent in. That's proxy, my vote. And this is Yahoo telling how Cablevision executives, officers, and board members buy the stock at like $6, or are given the stock at $6, and then wait a while and go out and sell it for $46. And this is Glendora's demand to see the books, records, and minutes, but of course they are going to fight to the terms of breaking the law to keep Glendora or you or any shareholder from seeing their books, records, and minutes. And I believe we have finished the proxy statement and the annotations for this year. Folks, is Cablevision franchised to operate a cable system in your village or in your town? Or is Cablevision on what is called a temporary operating authority, TOA? That's one question. Second question is, hi Ginny, has the temporary operating authority expired? In most cases, folks, it has. You know what that means? You get your cable TV free. There is no authorized cable operator in your village, and if you're getting a signal in your home from a cable operator that isn't authorized, then there's nobody to pay the subscription fee to. You should be getting it free. You don't have to pay.
How about everything went over again because I could get anywhere? How about a man was in the Oval Office, and he saw a gold phone, and he said, can I talk to God on that phone? And they said yes, so he talked to God for 3 minutes, and he said, what do I owe you? And they said $300. And a month later, he was transferred to Israel. And he saw the gold phone. Yes, you can talk to God on that phone. So he called God, and he talked for 3 minutes. And he said, what do I owe you? And they said 30 cents. And he says, what? I talked the same amount of time in the Oval Office as $300. They said, well, over here, it's a local call. That's very interesting. I don't know how you had such a... Bye-bye. I have personal knowledge that Edgardo Ramos has lied $600 times, and he's an assistant U.S. attorney. Okay, ma'am. And that's in the Eastern District of New York. Eastern District of New York? Yes, he's located in Garden City, New York.
Oh, that's a complaint to the Janet Reno office.
Yes, an assistant U.S. attorney. Okay, hold on for a second. You're not going to reach anyone today, but I'm going to give you a number where you can call Monday morning. Okay.
Sensi thinks that the United States
Court of the United States.
Thank you very much, Glendora, and good to talk to you again. What I want to point out is that the Supreme Court, the body that we know as the Supreme Court, is nothing more than a hoax upon the United States, the people of the United States, and the world. And the reason for that is that they have been dissolved by formal act of Congress in 1926. In 1926, by that time, they had the Supreme Court had served the interests of the owners of the basic wealth of this country, or those who pretended to be owners, the descendants of the so-called founding fathers. They had stolen all the western lands, and they had committed genocide and decimated the Native American population, and they had decided the Plessy against Ferguson case had been decided in 1894, which attempted to establish the equal, separate but equal with respect to the former kidnapped Africans who were kept as slaves in the United States and who were purportedly liberated or emancipated by the by the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. Now, when the efforts of the Supreme Court started to interfere with the evolving rights of the Native American population and the so-called slaves of kidnapped, referring of course to the kidnapped Africans who had been freed by the 13th Amendment. The dynamics created by the exercise of the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court became troublesome, and of course to the owners of the country, and just 1926 just preceded the so-called depression, economic depression, which was in effect a pre-revolutionary effort. Now, when I say pre-revolutionary, what it was actually was an overthrow of the United States government. When by the actions that were taken by Congress to dissolve the Supreme Court, they didn't do it, but they did it with language that kept it fraudulently in power. And this is what we're faced with now, is the fraudulent exercise of power by the people who call themselves these nine gangsters, this gangsterhood of nine people who call themselves Supreme Court judges. This, of course, is something, it's a terrible mistake, and the mystery is that the people of the United States have not done something responsive to this outlandish fraud. Not only that, they continued, in order to perpetuate the fraud, they supported the mental the psychiatric and prescribed and prescription medication, so-called medication, turns into outrageous outpourings of mass violence and massacres. And we see this too often, and especially this is especially common to its specific type of frustration to the postal workers, whose outrages have caused any number of massacres in the recent years. Now, the reason for that is because the country, there being no real Supreme Court itself being dissolved, the country has been divided into 12 separate fiefdoms, all of which have their own rules. And of course, we've got to go into the detail of this so that we can eventually either reinstate the Supreme Court where it was the way it was intended to be, or get these people locked up and have them executed as mass murderers of the American public because they allow these massacres under prescription drugs like Haldol and Prozac and other so-called medications. That's my message for today.
Good. I agree with you 100%.
Is that right?
Yes.
Hey, well, good. You know, a lot of people call me crazy, too. But anyway, believe me, that's the way it is. I wish it wasn't true.
Yeah, I believe you. I have personal knowledge of the same. Okay, Gene?
Okay, well, let's hope that's the reason why it's not because I have any lack of information for the topics, but I think that this is our biggest enemy is the pretended existence of the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So that's the reason why I feel if we keep chipping away at it, something might happen.
Okay, Gene?
Hey, have a good day and thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, regards to Franklin.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye. I have personal knowledge that Edgardo Ramos has lied $600 times, and he's an assistant U.S. attorney.
Okay, ma'am.
And that's in the Eastern District of New York.
Eastern District of New York?
Yes, he's located in Garden City, New York.
Hold on.
This is a cat next door. Cute. Taken from our office. Oh, he's black kitty with copper eyes. Taken from our office too. On July 9. Or July 8. Saturday. He has a swimming pool. I wanted you to see how much the elephant plant, or whatever it is, has grown this week. I've grown a lot this week too. Groaned. I went down there to look underneath that plant to see how much soil it has. It hasn't any. That's concrete corner. It's growing out of a concrete corner. It's coming up out of a concrete corner. Isn't that amazing? And it does have fur. Cilia. It does. Isn't God wonderful? He loves the side porch. Patrick Galino wants to see more pictures of cats. So, here's one.
Please return to health leader before. Country's brother in Florida was very ill. Lord, hear our prayers.
And here's Boo Mayberry, 93 years old. Isn't she terrific?
Look at that poor dead tree.
Yeah.
The beauty of the tree stands outlined against the deep blue sky. That is why the leaves must fall, so we can see the tree straight and tall. Sometimes we have sorrow, so we may see outstretched before us the gentle, loving hand of God.
Which room does she?
Thank you.
Oh, this is a very bad question. I'm going to write it about composer Alfred Schnittke.
All right.
I would rather something write myself instead of writing about Alfred Schnittke, you know?
Yeah, right.
What? Say something in Russian. In Russian? Okay. Я собираюсь писать тезисы about... Oh, I forgot Russian language already. I'm too long here in America, so I keep forgetting Russian language. It's easier for me to speak English than Russian now.
That was good music you gave us. That is our director of music. And how that little physique can give us such powerful music.
Yeah, that's... I'll take it a long way. He said, sign the oil tank.
Oh, the oil tank, right.
Yeah, put your autograph on the oil tank.
Right.
He looked good in his clerical collar.
Yes, that was cute. You heard why?
No.
You didn't have a clean shirt. She's away a lot, I guess. Yeah. Usually shirts, men's shirts, you know, you can just throw them in the washer and then dry them for 10 minutes and hang them up and they're fine. See the bank there?
Yes, I can.
Glendora?
Yeah. Yes. Isn't that great what he did to it?
Imagine how many plants are there.
Oh, yeah.
How many plants.
Well, this is nice.
Can you
Hutchison Boulevard.
Oh, can you see those flowers?
Yes.
In there?
Gorgeous.
Isn't it magnificent? Oh!
What a job he did. How long ago?
That whole wall and that whole driveway. And
Is it still Hutchison Boulevard?
still Hutchinson Boulevard. I think. Well, that's when I never looked. I just assumed as much. I never really did look to find out. See, gas came down 5 cents. It was 75.
We have a couple of porches.
Uh-huh. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Lovely. Uh-huh.
And the stone fireplace over here.
Where? Oh, my goodness. Isn't that something? Oh, isn't that something? Oh, lovely. Got a fan? Yeah, was the fan in there?
Fan was there,
Is it
yeah.
there?
It's missing one blade,
Oh.
and we're having trouble.
You really can have a ball.
See the built-in china?
Gorgeous, yes.
2 china cots.
No, well, I don't know, I would think that.
The old-fashioned way, the beam ceiling.
It's probably cool here.
Yeah, we haven't.
Fantastic.
Another fireplace. They both work.
Lovely. Lovely.
I just told us you could have a ball.
Yeah,
So what's your bush?
we are indoor trees.
Oh, isn't that something for a tree?
What's your bush?
Don't know what it is. We rescued it. Somebody threw it out in the field and I
You're
felt
kidding.
sorry for it. And that was several years ago, and look at the size of it.
Several years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Don't know what it is.
Well, I'll have to look at my leaf folder. Looky. Isn't that nice?
I think there's 22 cabinets. Yeah.
Isn't that something?
There's something. There's ones we don't have anything in.
Can you
We have to-
imagine
yeah.
not having something in all of them?
A nice pantry.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, oh. Oh. Oh, my God.
And a dishwasher.
This is a palace.
And a self-clean stove and a self-defrost refrigerator.
Oh, this was all here.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Who was here before you, do you know?
No.
Oh.
So they're counters.
Honestly.
And here are the 2 bedrooms. And here's a cat. Telephoning is in progress.
Oh my goodness! Where do you
Yeah.
sleep? Oh!
Well, Ginny.
Oh, isn't that something?
Is she very friendly? Oh, she likes you.
You'd never know it was a bedroom.
They put a mattress on top of the table here.
And then,
Oh,
and here's Mr. South.
What are you doing? His what?
This is Mr. South, the owner. Another porch, isn't that nice?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh. Okay.
Oh, okay, Mr.
We'll
South.
get out of the way.
We're going to fall through.
We don't want to go through.
Isn't that nice
That's
porch?
great.
Yeah.
Great.
It's 12:30. And here's the poor Lincoln, stuck in his own driveway. This is July 9. Here he goes up. They're nice people. Dom was nice and Frank was nice.
Who has the keys?
Right here, Frank.
Leave them there. I gotta get them in the car.
Right here, Frank? Hooray! Hooray! Frank, good for you. That was good. You gave up the idea of backing it up, huh?
Yeah, back it up. Chance got so kind of down and it up on the ground.
I'm gonna put this on my TV show, Frank. Yeah. It's in Yonkers. You live in Yonkers?
Yes, I do.
Okay, 11 o'clock Friday night.
11 o'clock
No,
Friday?
wait, Thursday night. Thursday night. 11 o'clock Thursday night.
What channel?
Public access. Whatever that is. It's 37, 38, 71. They change everything around. You know anything about stickball, Franklin?
What?
Is it
No.
reported in the sporting news, stickball?
They have it every year. They have one tournament a year.
How many? total ripoff. 20 bucks. All the laundry's done, and this little doggy is going for his Sunday ride. 6 hours late. Huh? Huh? This little doggy's going for a ride? Did you hear it? Did you hear that? Yeah. Did you just hear that? That this little doggy going for a ride in his dogmobile?
Hello there, everybody. This here is a chat with rotten gangsterhood of 9 people who are mislabeled as judges and magistrates of the highest court in the land, have finished their business, and now their business is over with, and hopefully we could do something to dissolve their existence. But they don't. What they did was they gave us more mischief to worry about as to the validity of the Boy Scouts, whether the Boy Scouts can keep gays out of their organization, and as if it's such a great of such great importance that there are gays that are trying to break down the doors of the Boy Scouts or any other organization, that we've got to waste all of this energy, the energy of this gangsterhood, to decide this. The merits of gays is something out of my understanding, and I think that the Supreme Court should keep it that way as far as any of the as far as the human condition is concerned. We've had them with us since the beginning of time, and we're still here, and they're still here. I can't understand what they're doing, or why they have to give it the importance and poison our minds with their thoughts about who's gay and who isn't, and what gays do and what gays shouldn't do. But then they went off into something else. What they're best at. That's also part of their religion. That's the definite proof that they're just a secular religion, and they're worried about telling people how to live. And what they do is they should get off our backs and off our faces, and we won't be enslaved, and stop enslaving the human condition. We don't need them. They were put together. The Supreme Court was put together in a sense to regulate the arguments amongst the thieves that were put together, the thieves that put together the founding fathers, who were all a bunch of gangsters, murderers, smugglers, illegal manufacturers, and troublemakers, and of course murderers of the Native Americans, and this is what they put together. Now they've changed that because the interests of the people who own this country and the world, maybe, have changed, and they want to impose a different kind of slavery on us. So now they're becoming part of our lives, and they did something also with the school prayers, with the prayers that are attached to events, accessory school events, and they said something about, they put some limitations about who should say the prayer and how it should be done, but it couldn't be done as as an approved ritual of their lordships in the Supreme Court, or their gangsterships. What they should call them is their gangsterhoods. And what we have to do is we just have to keep on repeating the it is that when I was drafted in the Army, they gave me a gun. When I was discharged from the Army, they took the gun away. They told me the gun was to protect freedom. And they took the gun away from me because they don't want me to protect freedom. So what kind of a game are we playing here? And this is what the Supreme Court is all about. They're nothing but a bunch of gangsters, every one of them. And of course, they don't tell us what their sexual preferences are. And they have no reason to tell anybody else. They ought to keep out of it completely. And all they're doing is getting more and more involved in our lives, completely in violation of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. We don't need them. They're a bunch of gangsters, every one of them. And of course, they've been identified as such. Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been identified as a crook publicly as a gun moll for her husband and her husband's companies that he owns. And mind you, he's using 260 million people, the efforts of 260